Hi, I'm Aliya, occupational therapist. Let's discuss your child's eating and feeding habits.
From 0 to 5. It starts at home. She say home. She say home.
In our Caribbean culture, one of the biggest challenges that we see in children who might be picky eaters is that they still drink from a bottle even as they get older. What happens with this is that they aren't developing the muscles needed to eat and chew. So that means that when it comes to trying new foods, they may not want to try, or it may be difficult for them to try new foods because they haven't developed the skills to eat and to chew. Another concern added to the limited food preferences is that some children tend to eat a lot of processed or junk food. And this means that it can become addictive, but also they may not want to try different foods that are more natural. Some children with developmental delays also may stick to eating processed foods because it's very predictable. They know what they're getting every time. And it also means that they may not want to try other foods that are presented to them. Some children might have some sensory concerns, maybe not liking mushy foods, or maybe only wanting to eat mushy foods. And this can prevent them from wanting to try new foods. In this case, you may want to start with where your child is and then go to the next easiest food to eat from there. For example, if your child only likes mashed potato and it needs to be super smooth, you may want to try a small bit of potato that has a little bit of lumps in it to see if they would like it. And then you can progress to having maybe a chip that has a softer inside and then a harder chip so that they get used to these different textures. For very young children who may not be eating solid foods yet, you can check to see how is your child nursing. If they're having any trouble latching on, if they're having any trouble nursing, you may want to get some feeding support. If your child is not gaining weight or if they're losing weight, that's also a cause for concern. If your child might be choking or gagging, either when they're having liquids or when you start to introduce solids, you may want to get that checked to make sure that they are able to swallow, if they're able to chew, if the coordination with doing those things is intact. If there are limited food preferences, if your child is eating 10 things or fewer or 20 things or fewer in total, including what they're drinking, this may be a cause for concern. If there are any sensory preferences, strong sensory preferences, if they only want to eat one color of food or one type of food or one texture of food, this may suggest that they may have some sensory differences that could impact their feeding and impact their meal times. And if your child has any differences with being able to hold a spoon, hold a fork, bring it to their mouth, hold a cup, if there are any concerns in those areas with the actual eating and feeding mechanisms, then that may be something that you would want to get some feeding support for. If your child is eating and you think they may have a limited diet or limited food preferences, check to see what they're eating in the different food groups: carbohydrates, proteins, some good fats, vitamins, minerals. If you can tick all of those boxes, then it maybe you just need to introduce some more foods in a safe way. If you find that your child is maybe not getting one or more of those food groups, then definitely check with the pediatrician, make sure there are no nutritional deficiencies or you don't need any medical support. Otherwise, you would want to get some supporting eating and feeding to make sure that you can cover all of those bases.
Feel like I'm going off my mind. My mommy tell me it will take time. I have no money for therapy. It starts at home. She say